Hello everyone. Hi, I'm just waiting for my audience to join here because we are going to have Dr. Demartini in this session. Dr. Demartini has sent a message to me. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, my lovely audiences. This is Hina. I'm S.H.A.L.A scientist from Indian Institute of Science, certified wellness coach, certified life coach, motivational speaker, and a counselor as well. And this session is going to be a very special session because we are having Demartini here, and I'm going to say a lot more about what actually Demartini has to say about love and relationships. And Demartini is a genius. He is a visionary thinker, and he is a renowned psychologist. He is a human behavior expert, and we have Dr. Demartini. And let's welcome Demartini. And he is a founder of Demartini Method. Demartini, you're most welcome. I'm just about to start with the session. I'm just sending you here, Doctor. Before Demartini joins us, let me talk more about Demartini. Hello, Demartini. Good
How's
evening.
It going? Good afternoon.
It's going really awesome. Good. Oh, that's afternoon there. So good afternoon to you there.
Yes.
And good evening to me here.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you so much. I was just trying to talk about you because you are a genius. You are a psychologist, a renowned psychologist, a renowned human behavior expert, and your breakthrough experience, that signature program is amazing, and it has transformed the lives of the people. And you are the right person on this earth to talk about love and relationships because people have got a very wrong concept in taking to love and relationships. So we have Demartini here. Let us all welcome this amazing personality who's existing on the earth. He is a gem. Yes, Demartini. Yeah.
Myself there a bit. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'll be asking, first you can introduce yourself. Everybody knows you, by the way. There is no introduction required as such because you are such a renowned personality, okay? But still, I would expect that you say something so that the audience also get to know and they start following you and they also can enroll into your breakthrough experience program. That's an amazing program. Yes.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Demartini. I have been, for the last 50 years, I've been researching on human behavior and doing everything I can to assist people in living more extraordinary and more empowered lives. And that's the one thing I love doing. I can't think of anything else I'd rather be doing than researching, writing, and teaching. So I do it every day, 7 days a week, pretty well. And yes, I do have a program called the Breakthrough Experience for people that would like to break through the barriers that they have in their life to achieve what they want to achieve, whether it be their relationships or business or finance. We address each of them. I have been doing that program, the Breakthrough Experience, 1,170 times. So I've been doing it a bit. I've been doing it, that program for 34 years, and this month actually. And but I'm a real believer that deep inside, every human being wants to be loved and appreciate who they are. And the magnificence of who we are is far greater than any fantasies that will ever impose on ourselves.
Exactly.
And giving ourselves to be our authentic self, believe it or not, is one of the biggest challenges that people face in life. You know, they can walk on coals, they can bungee jump, they can do all kind of things. It's metaphor, but the fear of being themselves in a world that's trying to make them different, trying to make them fit in, is one of the biggest challenges of people. And if you're not being yourself, then you're going to create symptoms in your life to force you to go back to it. Every symptom in your physiology, in your psychology, every symptom in business and in your social life is a feedback mechanism to guide you back to authenticity and integrity with who you are. So there's nothing more grand than that. But what makes us sometimes not appreciate that and try to be something we're not is the comparison we make with other people. We sometimes put other people on pedestals and minimize ourselves and then self-depreciate, and then inject some of their values into our life and cloud the clarity of our own mission, our own authenticity, and try to be second to being somebody else instead of first to being ourselves. And we sometimes look down on people and project our values on them and expect them to live in our values instead of their own. Both of those are
Correct.
futile. Trying to live in other people's values and trying to live in ours is both futile. But living in our own values and our own priorities and prioritizing our life and filling our day with very high priority things and delegating lower priority things to people who love doing them and honoring the art of communicating what we would value in terms of what other people value, boy, they really make a difference in all of our relationships. And there's nothing that happens in life without a relationship, whether it be a business relationship, customer relationship, children, spouse, social life, it's all relationships. So the master of relationships is the master of the art of communicating what you really value in terms of what other people value, helping them get what they want, helping you get what you want. And that's the mastery. And authenticity is the most powerful way of doing it. If we puff ourselves,
Exactly.
look down on people and puff ourselves up, we're not being authentic. If we minimize ourselves, we're not being authentic. When we are ourselves and we realize that what we see in them is us, we're able to communicate equitably with equanimity, which is the one that is the most sustainable, fair exchange, positioning, and transactions that human beings can have. So I'm a firm believer in giving ourselves permission to be ourselves in a world
Be
that's wanting us
yourself.
to fit in. Yeah.
But people, yes, but people, they try not to be authentic self by just praising or admiring the other person so that they can get that attention from the people, or they can be approved. They need validation from the world. So they always try to, be a people pleaser, as you may also know about that. So you are losing your authenticity. This is what doctor is trying to say. When you are not trying to be your authentic self, then you are trying to lower your value. When you are in that equanimity, that is, you are neither putting someone in the pit or not putting someone on the pedestal, but when you are in that equilibrium zone, then you are living an authentic life. And I would like to ask you here, doctor, what actually is unconditional love supposed to be? Because many people vouch by saying that unconditional love, I love you unconditionally. So what is that supposed to be?
Well, I think that most people have had a moment of unconditional love where they transcended a judgment and they weren't looking down or up. They were just looking across from their heart. And I believe that that's the most profound state that a human being can have. It's an authentic state. We literally
Mm-hmm.
have a gamma in our brain. Our autonomics become regulated. Our physiology becomes poised and healthy. We get a lot of feedback to say that this is our authentic self. But we don't stay there, because when we are in that state, we tend to go on to our next illusion. We tend to go our next,
Ah.
brain is trying to help us dissolve the judgments of the past that have been stored in the subconscious mind. And so it vies for attention and comes up after a moment of unconditional love. And we have the next thing that we've been judging coming up to teach us how to love that too. And that's the progress of
Mm-hmm.
life. Love that and go on to the next thing. Stagnating is running the same story and being, trapped in our judgments for the rest of our life. And progress is making us through that and going on to the next one. Nobody stays in unconditional love 24 hours a day, all day long. That's a delusion. But they can certainly have moments of unconditional love and transcend it and see the hidden order in their apparent chaos and be grateful for their life and move on and then tackle the next illusion. Because we're going to have plenty of illusions in our life. We're so bombarded by moral hypocrisies and unrealistic expectations by people in society, and everybody's projecting their values on you about how you should be. And if you can't say thank you, but no thank you, I have my own values. It's hard enough for me to be master of my own life, let alone trying to live in everybody else. If you can say thank you, but no thank you, or I'll consider that thank you, and just keep moving on and sticking to what's true for you, you certainly have a lot less baggage to carry around and a lot more inspiration in life. So I'm a firm believer that
And
give yourself permission to live by priority in life. I tell people
mm,
that every human set of priorities and values in their life, things that are most to least important, whenever they're doing what's highest in their priorities, they spontaneously are inspired to fulfill that. Whenever they're trying to do lower priority things, they need motivation to keep reminding them to do it. I don't need motivation to do what I love doing. And anything that I need motivation to do, I delegate to somebody else. And I get focused on my core competence of what I do that's more meaningful, which is teach and research and write. And I get remunerated from that, and I make more income from that, and I delegate the rest away, and it's way more liberating, way more fulfilling. And people say, well, maybe when you get wealthy, you can do that. No, I became wealthy because I did that. I was rewarded, fulfilled and being authentic. I was
Exactly.
rewarded. That's the rewards come from that.
Yeah, when you have the mission of serving people, because you had that mission, you had a goal where you can advance humanity, with the bringing that some kind of change in the paradigm of mankind, which you have been doing, and you have been teaching more than 10 lakh students online, taking this breakthrough experience program. And as I wanted to ask you here one thing, doctor, because many people in love or in relationships, they feel that they are betrayed, they feel that the partner has ditched them, and they get into depression. They are totally lost in the world. So what do you say on this, and what do you suggest such kind of people about taking love and relationships?
They're not going to like what I think. There's betrayal, cheating. I think that language needs to be thrown away.
Mm.
Human beings have a unique set of values and priorities in their life, and they're wanting to fulfill what they value most. Their identity revolves around what they value most. They're committed to that. That's the only thing they're committed to. They're not committed to
Mhm.
you. Even a
Mm.
fantasy that somebody else is committed to them, that's the delusion. Everybody's a customer. And if you're not meeting the
Exactly.
customers, where else? They go to the next person that's offering a service. So the question you want to ask is, what's in it for my customer? If my customer is going off into somebody else and having an affair or having a relation with somebody else, that means that customer is not being, their needs are not getting met, and there's something that these other people are providing. Can I share a funny story? It's a funny story. Imagine you're going to a grocery store, and you've been going to some store that's got a brand name, and then you've been going there for 15 years, like regular clockwork. Every week you go and buy your groceries there. And then all of a sudden, a brand new store, a superstore, brand new, with greater, more precious produce, better prices, a half a block away, and they do home deliveries. So now all of a sudden you decide, you know what? I'm going over here. Now imagine if all of a sudden the manager of the old store came and knocked on your door and knocked on the door, and you opened the door, and he came, or he or she said, "You betrayed me. You had an affair with that grocery store. How dare you did that? I can't trust you. We had a relationship for 15 years." You would probably think the person is crazy, because I'm just going and getting my needs met over here, and you weren't providing the same prices, things. So betrayal is not what somebody does to you. Betrayal is what you do to you when you expect them to live in your values, not their own. And you're not keeping current with what their values and needs are. And you're not making a point to care enough about them to keep adapting and bringing the values to them. So you always want to ask, what's in it for my customer? What's in it for my relationship? If somebody goes out and when they're looking for a relationship, they're looking for somebody that's fit, that's attractive. They're looking for somebody that's intelligent. They're looking for somebody that's ambitious. They're looking for somebody that's got resources. They're looking for somebody that desires them. They're looking for somebody that's socially connected and savvy. They're looking for somebody who's inspired by something. So what are you offering? And if you're not offering some of those things, or you're letting some of those slide and they going off looking for somebody else, don't be surprised. Go and ask them, what is it I've done to push you away? What am I not accomplishing or giving or providing that you've been asking? What is it I've been oversighting, not listening to when you've been upset? Talk to me. Give me insight, and try to reestablish a relationship with your customer. People sometimes have a fantasy that people are supposed to be in a little box, and this is how they should be. This is how they're supposed to be. No, they're
Hmm.
living according to their values, and it's unique, and they're wanting to fulfill what they value most. And whatever's highest on their values, what's important to them. If I had a girlfriend and she said, one thing we need to do is you need to stop all this speaking, and stop all this reading and writing and stuff, and finally do what I want you to do, I'd say, thank you. You deserve to have a man like that. That's not going to happen. Appreciate that, but Let's see if we can work together in finding you a guy that matches what you want, because I'm a professional speaker. That's who I am. That's what I love doing. And I'm not likely to be different. Don't expect me to
Hmm.
be, an affair with a fantasy figure about how another person's supposed to be. And you have a fantasy they're going to live that way. And then you get angry when they don't, and you feel betrayed because
Hmm.
you the fantasy.
Exactly.
That's not fair to the individual. They just want to be loved and appreciated for who they are. And who they are is an
Hmm.
expression they value
Hmm.
most. Find what that is. Ask how specifically is what they're dedicated to, helping you fulfill what you're dedicated to, so you don't have to change them. You can appreciate them. And then when you can
Hmm.
appreciate more than the person next door or the buyer next door, they're not going anywhere. They love
Hmm.
being with you. Just ask what's in it for the customer. What's in it for your mate? Are you offering
Hmm.
them something? Not. Don't be
Hmm.
upset with
Hmm.
them. Appreciate that
Hmm.
they're. And by the way, they're only going to tell you the truth if you can handle it. If you want them to be honest with you, don't bitch at them when they all of a sudden tell you the truth. Don't go berserk. Don't go into emotional reactions, or they're going to never tell you the truth again. They can't be open with you. So be mature enough
Hmm.
to want the truth from people, and then they'll be
Hmm.
telling you, "I'm not fulfilling my relation." They won't feel afraid. They won't be afraid to say it, and then you'll get to have an insight of what's going on in their life, and they'll tell you. They'll tell you what's going on, and they'll say, "Hey, this isn't fulfilling to me." And then you won't be surprised when they go off somewhere else. You'll be able to appreciate it. It's an ongoing communication and transaction of exchanging what they value for what you value, and vice versa. And it's a masterful art that if you practice it, you can become great at it, like sales. You're selling
Hmm.
yourself.
Exactly.
When you're in marriage, you're
Hmm.
selling it. You stop
Yourself.
selling yourself, you let your products go down, you let your services drop, they go somewhere else.
So is it this the main cause for divorces where people, the partners, they part away from each other initially, before marriage, or when they are looking for each other, dating each other, they are in total love with each other. As you said, it could be a fantasy world. They are fantasizing each other. But once they get married, they are not able to tolerate each other. They are not able to embrace the values each other is having. So there are a lot of frictions that is happening in the relationship. So what do you have to talk on this, especially, doctor?
Most people haven't learned the difference between infatuation and love. And they're caught in infatuations and dopamine fixes and oxytocin bondings and vasopressin trusts and all these chemistries in the brain, and they think, oh my God, I love them. The ancient Greeks said when you see more similarities than differences, you think you have love, but it's actually infatuation. When you
Hmm.
go in, God, we have the same number of eyes, the same number of ribs, the same number of arms and legs. We must be soulmates. That's infatuation. You're blind to the downsides. And then you're going to end up sacrificing to be with them until you eventually build up enough resentment to say, I want my life back. And so eventually you're going to learn that every relationship has things that are similar and different, things that support and challenge, things you like and dislike, things you want to hug and slug. I mean, everybody's got two sides. There's no
Hmm.
one-sided individual. If you can love both sides of the individual and find out how both sides serve you, you can love somebody. But if you're expecting it to be one side and then the second the other side comes up, well, we don't love each other anymore, that's because you haven't matured enough to see that love is a balance of opposites, not one-sidedness. People think that love and hate are opposites. No. Admiration and despise, infatuation, resentment, seeking and avoiding, the impulses and instincts are the two poles that make up love. You're going to have times when you're going to want to be close to them and want to be distant. You want to let there be space in our togetherness. There's going to be times when you're going to want to hug them and slug them. That is life. That's what love is. Don't expect love to
Hmm.
be only one. If you're trying to get rid of half of life, you'll never love yourself. If you're trying to get rid of half of them, you're not going to love them. You're trying to get rid of
Hmm.
half of what's relationship, you won't be able to love it.
Hmm.
There are unrealistic expectations and fantasies and delusions that people put on other people to live outside their values. And in that individual's values, with a false expectation, is part of the reason why people have these chaos in their relationship.
Relationships, yeah.
How specifically is what they're dedicated to, what their life demonstrates is important to them, what's highest on their values. How specific is it helping me fulfill what I'm dedicated to? What's highest on mine? And what is highest on mine? How's it helping fulfill their? Answer those questions. And maybe somewhere along they can learn the Demartini method, which is a series of reflective exercises and questions to help you realize that whatever you judge in them is you.
Mm-hmm.
You're just, you face it. You're too humble or too proud to admit what you see in them that you're judging in them inside you. Most people that
Mm-hmm.
are frightened of somebody having an affair on them is because they're frightened of their own desire to have an affair. It's their own stuff that they're projecting. So you have to ground yourself and face the truth about your own life, and not project false attribution biases onto other people, and honor your own magnificence and embrace it. You have both sides. Don't expect somebody else to be one-sided and supportive without challenging when you can't even do it to yourself. Nobody will ever beat you up or criticize you as much as you do yourself. So,
Exactly.
appreciate people for who they are, and they'll turn into who you love.
And what, as you are saying, appreciate the person for whoever the person may be. They'll have both the positive and the negative side in them. But what if a person, because this term narcissism, toxicity is very common, which you have also heard of. So what if the partner, or if the person is narcissist, or if it is a toxic person? So how are you
No,
going to deal with that?
psychological label that psychologists use when somebody's upset about the person that they're challenging. See, anytime somebody challenges you, you activate the fight or flight response in the sympathetic nervous system. And when you do, you get into puffed up, proud defense mechanisms. When you do, your
Mm,
narcissism quotient goes up. That's not who you
mm,
are. I'm not a
mm, mm,
narcissist. I'm an altruist. But I can certainly play a narcissistic role when I'm challenged, and I can play an altruistic role when I'm supported. When you're infatuated with somebody, you'll sacrifice for them. When you
mm,
resent them,
mm,
you'll demand from them narcissistically. So what happens is when people are breaking up and their fantasies are broken, and then they are expecting the other to be more like them, they both project, they both challenge each other, and they both label each other narcissists. But that's not who they are. That's just a label. And psychologists are selling labels right now and making a fortune off labels that they project onto people. No, people aren't narcissists or altruists. They're human beings. They're individuals with sets of values. If you communicate in their values, they'll be more altruistic. If you challenge their values, they'll be more narcissistic. If you stop and think about the very beginning of a relationship, when you're all infatuated, you're sacrificing for each other. And then when all of a sudden you're
mm.
in mode, now you're narcissistic. You're both labeling each other narcissists. Almost every divorce case throws those labels at people thinking, but that's not being accountable for your role and what you've created in that dynamic. It's not one-sided people are this way. You're in a dynamic. You're a part of that equation. If you were you
Mhm.
want to be face the part you're playing in the dynamic of what's going on in a relationship, either your selection process or your interaction and communication process or the way you're dialoguing. If you do that, you're not going to be labeling other people with false attribution biases and saying, well, it's a label. I see it every week. I have not seen that ever succeed in helping you move forward and master the relationship dynamics. I just see you now living in fear and now labeling people and now not trusting and being trapped. Learn how to have reflective awareness and learn how to ask how what they're dedicated to is serving you, and appreciate people for who they are. And who they are is not the fantasy you're wanting on them. It's who they are. And make sure you're selecting according to who they are, not the fantasy you keep wanting to make them. This is where a lot of people get in trouble. They're having an affair with a fantasy person and expecting that individual to be their fantasy instead of actually loving them for who they are. People don't go to other relationships when they feel love for who they are. Try that. That's amazing what that does.
Okay. So what about the trust? Because in any relationship, they prefer that the person to be trustworthy, the person to be loyal, faithful, and all those things. Are these concepts truly existing, doctor?
That's
No.
delusional. That's so
Mm-hmm.
antiquated and so
Mm-hmm.
antiquated. You can trust an individual to do is to fulfill what their values are. If you can provide more and offer more to fulfill their values than somebody else, they're going to hang out with you and stay with you for the rest of your life. If you want to have a long-term relationship, it's up to you the way you communicate with them, how you help them fulfill what they desire in life. Now, if they have unrealistic expectations and you selected and didn't discern that before you end up marrying them, well, that's a lesson to you. Be discerning. Make sure you understand the person. But they're not loyal to you. We've already proven that with thousands of cases. They're loyal to fulfill what they value most. Nobody goes to a job to
Mm-hmm.
fulfill a job. They go to fulfill their values in a job. Nobody wants to learn something for this. They want to do it because it's helping them fulfill what they value. And they get into a relationship because they believe utilitarian that somehow being with this individual is going to help them fulfill their values more than somebody else. And they're selecting according to what they value. Understand what they value, communicate their value, and they will be loyal to that. They'll be dedicated to that. And as long as you're helping them do that, they're going to look like they're loyal to you. But nobody's loyal to another individual. I've not found that in all the cases I've done, studying thousands of people who have been married, some for 50, 60 years. They're loyal to the fulfillment of their values, and I can easily prove it to them. So just, you know, insecure and so frightened that they're going to leave, go look at yourself and look at what you're doing and how you're communicating with them and how you're in dialogue with them. And are you providing more of a value than anybody else in the marketplace? And as long as you do that, they're not likely to go anywhere. They're going to be, because whenever they're getting an amazing value, they don't want to walk away from something that's amazing value.
Exactly.
Go become amazing. Go give yourself permission to do something extraordinary and be something that no one would ever want to leave. If you do, they're not likely to go anywhere. But be gripe, put on a fantasy, project an expectation of them to be a certain way, not love them for who they are, and then label them with narcissism and say you're not loyal. That's signs of ignorance as far as I'm concerned. Time to wake up.
Okay.
Wake up. Accountable.
It's time to wake up. Yes, yes, because most of them are living in this delusion. Most of them are living this fantasized kind of life. Exactly. And they are having that ego, because many in this relationships, there is thing like, you know, ego should not exist in a relationship. But I guess that ego should exist, but there is a kind of true ego. And what do
Yes,
you have to talk about this ego? Yeah.
the true ego. See, many people confuse the false ego and the true ego. The false ego, which was part of the id in Freud's tripartite aspects of the psyche, your true ego is the self. Your id was your passions and your impulses and instincts. And then your superego was the injected values of outer authorities that you lived under the fear of rejection from. And the second you inject other people's values, when you feel like you're living up to it, you get proud. That's the false ego. And the second you don't, you feel shamed. And that's a sub-ego. The second you're authentic, your true ego is a healthy state. It's very reasonable and it's very understanding. So you're not going to get rid of it. You're not going to nihilistically annihilate your own ego. No organism will ever annihilate its reason for existence. But you will and have the capacity to calm down the impulses and instincts of the superego and the false ego. That you can do. But that takes living by priority, living objectively, filling your day with things that are meaningful. Anytime you go to work and you're doing something that's high in priority, that you're inspired by, that you're grateful for, you love doing, at the end of the day, if you live by priority and you felt you're on top of the world, you come home, you can handle almost anything at home. Even if they're upset, you go, that's okay, I understand, honey. But the second you do low priority things and you get your blood glucose and oxygen into your amygdala and you get into the subcortical area of the brain, you're like an animal. And you're going to be reacting to things, and you're going to have a false expectation on being proud. You're going to have a false expectation on the fantasy that you're projecting onto them. And then there's going to be volatility. And the volatility and the symptoms in your life are not mistakes. They're guidance mechanisms to let you know that you're projecting unrealistic expectations. You're not living by priority. You're not fulfilling what's meaningful. And you're not caring enough about a human being to communicate what you value in terms of theirs and master the art of communication. True dialogue is not an alternating monologue where you're speaking, they're not listening, and they're speaking, you're not listening. It's a true dialogue where you're caring enough to understand what they value and you communicate what you want in terms of what they want so they feel that they're being loved and appreciated for who they are. Do that. Try that. Watch what happens to relationships. It works.
Communication is the key factor. Communication is the key factor. Also, doctor, see, in relationships, as you are saying, most of them, they get nagged by the negativity. This is what. Do you think that there is something like only positivity existing and only negativity existing? Because people say that you stay away from negative people.
No.
The more you are with negative people, is that so? No.
If you're negating negative people, you're being negative. So it's impossible. So it's a waste of time. I've already proved that. 38 years ago, I did research on the idea of positive thinking. I don't promote that because I think that's illusion. The more you're addicted to positive thinking, the more you're going to attract negative thinking people into your life to wake you up. You need a balance of life. If you're infatuated, you're conscious of only the upsides and you're seeing only the positives. And then days, weeks, months, years out that that's not who you are. You got a fatal attraction there. You got a delusion about who this individual is. And eventually you discover the things you don't like. And if you're resentful to somebody, a day, a week, or a month, or 5 years later, you find out that there's again benefits that came out of it.
Mhm.
So the idea that you separate the inseparables and divide the indivisibles and label these unlabellables is a farce. A human being is going to give you both. They're going to be supportive and challenging. I have sometimes women come to me and say, I'm looking for my soulmate. I said, write down what you're looking for. Now write down the opposite. When you're able to love both of those equally, now you're ready for a real relationship. But if you're looking for only one side, you're going to end up looking for that which is unobtainable and keep trying to avoid that which is unavoidable and
Mhm.
suffering.
Unavoidable.
No, you have to embrace both sides of life. There's no one-sided individual. There's not one individual that's only one-sided. That's been
O-
proven. It's so antiquated to think you're going to get a one-sided life. That's the very source of
So,
the thing. Addiction to positive thinking is what makes negative thinking painful. When you
hmm,
embrace both sides of life, the positives and negatives in you, and realize that those are just artificial labels because both of them are both. Like a yin and yang. You can't separate the yin and the yang. So trying to separate that and trying to label people is a childish act, in my opinion. It's basically a sign that you're new. It was a
hmm,
picture of this great philosopher who said, first you blame other people, then you blame yourself, and then you finally realize there's nothing to blame. It's neither positive. It's a transcendent a state of true love. Love
hmm,
is neither positive nor negative. When you're down
hmm,
in either, you're in judgment. You have strife
hmm,
when you're in judgment. If you really love
hmm.
something, you'll embrace it simultaneously.
Doctor, how do you actually define love as per you? What actually is love supposed to be and how love has to be? Because this is a very important because I love that, love. It's such a beautiful thing. But people have a lot of misconceptions taking love. So how are you going to define love?
But
I want to know through you and let the audience also know.
I've always defined love as the synthesis and synchronicity of all complementary opposites. So anything that you are looking for in a person, take its opposite, put them together, see them simultaneously. And in that moment, when you can embrace both sides simultaneously, as Wilhelm Wundt, the father of experimental psychology, described, now you have love. If you expect to get a one-sided love, it's like a one-sided magnet. You cut a magnet in half and try to get a one-sided state, you won't do it. It'll be two magnets with two poles. Well, love is a balance of opposites. It's a synthesis of opposites. It's going to be the things you like and dislike. Everyone you love is going to have things you like and dislike, support and challenge. If you had nothing but support, you'd stay juvenilely dependent. You wouldn't grow. You'd be submissive. If you have challenge, you get precocious independent. If you get both of them simultaneously is where you grow most. You need both. And you don't even want to imagine if I went up to you, let's say we started dating and I said, I just want to do everything you want me to do whenever you want me to do it. I just want to just tell me what to do. You'd say, get a backbone, dude, stand up to me. And if I'm really harsh on you, you'd say back off. One would bore you, the other would burn you out. But if I put a nice blend of both of those and I have a nice
Mm,
band together, we have love. Love is a synthesis of opposites. It's not a one-sided anything. And so people live in
okay.
the fantasy. Their amygdala is running their life. They're wanting to avoid predator. They want prey. They want to eat. They want to get gluttonous. They want to get fat, but they lose fitness. They need
Hmm,
also the predator in their life, the challenger in their life, or otherwise they don't grow. You need both
true, true.
support, the positives, negatives, the kinds, the cruels, the nice, the means, and that's what you're going to get in a relationship. The moment you're mature enough to face that the truth about life is you're going to get both sides in life, you are ready for mastering life and ready to have an objective view on life. Otherwise, you're going to be a child looking for a fantasy all your life and then being nightmared by the reality.
And doctor, how about, see, many people, they get into grief, sadness. So how can they overcome this sadness through
Well,
your experience? Yeah.
I've never seen depressed or sad unless they're comparing their current reality to a fantasy that they're addicted to. As long as they're addicted to a fantasy, their life's going to be sad. The sadness isn't a mistake. It's not a weakness. It's not a biochemical imbalance. That's a pharmaceutical game they played. It is simply your body doing its job, trying to wake you up and
Mm-hmm.
associate pain fantasies you're holding on to. If you
Mm-hmm.
expect somebody to be excited and positive without negative, nice without mean, kind without cruel, you're going to be depressed because they're not going to be that way. If you expect them to live in your values, not their own, you're going to be depressed because they're not going to live that way. If you're expecting yourself to be positive without negative, you're going to beat yourself up and think there's something wrong with you and be depressed, sad, because you have fantasies. If you expect yourself to live outside your values and somebody else's values, depression. If you expect the whole world to be peaceful all the time without challenge and criticism and conflict, delusion. The delusions that you hold on to and the fantasies you keep promoting and seeking are the source of your depressions. And your depression is not your enemy. Your depression is trying to crack your addiction to the fantasies so you can get grounded with appreciation for the magnificence of life that it offers. And life is you need both sides to grow. When you can embrace both sides and have an objective view. If I was started dating again somebody and I expected to be never nice, never mean, kind, never cruel, they wouldn't be able to do it. I have a false expectation. But if I expect this, they're a human being with a set of values that are unique, fingerprint specific. If I know what they are to the degree that I get to know them and appreciate them and know that if I communicate in their values, they'll be nice as a pussycat. If I go against their values, they're going to be mean as a tiger, like every human being. Now I can have a realistic expectation on what I'm going to expect in life. And I don't have depression when I have realistic expectations, but I do have depression when I have fantasy about how life is supposed to be. And I put people in a box and I expect them to be always loyal to me, which is delusional. And they're always supposed to be positive and nice, delusional. Not going to happen. You have to be able to realize that you're going to support and challenge in life if you're going to grow.
That's why people just get into substance abuse. They are drug addicts only because of this reason, because they are not balancing their mind, and because there is no equanimity that's running in their brain. And what can be the factors for which they have this substance abuse problem, doctor?
You have an executive center, the medial prefrontal cortex, the forebrain, in the frontal lobes. And this area has governance over the amygdala, which is a subcortical area of the brain that's involved in impulses and instincts. And the amygdala is the one that is involved in the limbic system that's driving the addictions, whether it be porn addiction, drug addiction, alcohol addiction, sex addiction, or food addiction, whatever it is. When you're not filling your day with high priority actions that inspire you, your day fills up with low priority distractions that don't. If you're, so I always say that immediate gratifying, addictive, compulsive behaviors, addictive behaviors are a byproduct of unfulfilled highest values. Find something that's deeply meaningful that you can't wait to get up in the morning and do, that makes a difference in the world, that serves people, and focus your attention on that. And I assure you, when you have something you can't wait to do in the morning that's meaningful, you're not going to be overdoing drugs and alcohol and things. If you look in your life, you'll find that most people drink and overeat on Friday night and Saturday night because they got nothing to do on the weekend, because they don't fill their day with something. But back on Monday and Tuesday, they're less likely to do it. They're more governed. But why have an artificial day that says, Saturday or Sunday or Monday? Why different? Every day is a day for meaning. Every day is a day for service. Every day is a day for helping people in the world and doing something that's inspiring to you. So if you fill your day with really meaningful things, you're less likely to have the amygdala run you for addictive behaviors. And most of those addictive behaviors are because of wounds in the past stored in the subconscious mind that you're trying to escape. And that escape is setting up a fantasy and trying to live it to avoid a nightmare. All of that is amygdala based. Go in there and take the nightmares you thought you had and find out how they served you and clean the wounds out. That's why I have people to go to the breakthrough experience to clear all the wounds that they have, that you've been running around, the stories they've been running, being a victim of history all their life, and start asking, how did whatever happened in your life, how did it help you? How did it serve you? How's it helping you, giving you meaning in life? And then you'll find yourself going and being of service to people. One of the most fulfilling things I've found in people's lives is when they're doing something that's meaningful, they love doing, that's their core competence, that contributes to somebody, and somebody says, thank you, you made a difference in my life. That's what people want. Do that, you're less likely to be going and over drinking and over drugging and over sexing and having the amygdala running your life. If you activate the executive center by living by priority and filling your day with meaning and service, your amygdala doesn't come online and doesn't run your life. The executive center has nerve fibers that go down to the amygdala with glutamate and GABA transmitters that calm down the amygdala and calm down these addictive behaviors. And we have the capacity to do it. And don't let somebody tell you that you're powerless and you need some anthropomorphic deity to solve it. You have the power to transform your life, but you're not filling your day with priority. You're blaming and you're giving power to others, thinking there's something causing it. anytime you look outside for the cause outside and the solution outside yourself, instead of look within, you're going to disempower your life.
Exactly. And doctor, how is that intuition speaking? Because we say that you have to listen to what your intuition says. How can anybody get to know that? Because even for me, even when that intuition speaks, it's like, a kind of feeble kind of breeze. And again, it goes away. And I can't give my thought about what my intuition has said. So how to know what is your intuition speaking?
When you're infatuated with somebody and you're conscious of the upsides and unconscious of the downside, you have an impulse to seek them. When you're resentful to somebody and you're conscious of the downside and unconscious of the upside, you have an instinct to avoid them. Your intuition is trying to make you aware of what you're unconscious of to make you fully conscious. But if you're highly polarized, the intuition is kind of weak. You can't hear it. The whispering inside's not strong. Almost every woman that's had a new boyfriend that she's infatuated with, she goes inside her head, she's got this little voice that says, too good to be true. Be cautious. Keep your eyes open. This guy is too many. It's whispering to her, but if she's not listening and she lets the impulse go, she goes out and imagines, I want to have babies and I want to get pregnant and I want to do this. And this is my man and I found the one. And they get lost in infatuation thinking that's love because of a dopamine rush and an oxytocin rush. And so the intuition is constantly trying to whisper. And then when you have this challenging situation, your intuition is whispering, there's got to be a reason for this. There's got to be meaning behind this. There's got to be an order in this. What is that? Your intuition is constantly trying to whisper, but our impulses and instincts, when we're highly judging, make those so loud with all the noise, we have a hard time hearing our intuition. Our intuition is always trying to bring us into homeostasis and making us return to love. It's trying to help us return to love. But we keep getting addicted to our pride and get addicted to our fantasies and then punish people because they're not helping us feel important with our narcissism and helping us with our fantasies. But if we go and actually take the time to go and take whatever we see in others and go find out where it's inside us by asking, what specific trait, action, or inaction do I perceive that I admire or despise in them? And where do I have that in my life? And level the playing field and no longer have them on pedestals or pits, but put them in your heart. All of a sudden, your executive center comes online, your love center, your gratitude center, which is the forebrain, comes online. The amygdala that's trying to create volatility comes down, and you have governance over your life. And now you're master of destiny, not victim of history. And you have the capacity. Every human being has the capacity to transform their life. They just haven't been trained on it. Paul Dirac, the Nobel Prize, said it's not that we know so much. We know so much that isn't so. We've been bombarded by misinformation, and we've been sold on how to be happy in our relationship and only positive. BS. Grow up. These are illusions that we've been sold. It sells because it's the opium of the masses. The amygdala wants to buy the opium. The wise individual wants to truly walk the path of love. When you can walk the path of love, both sides of life, the opium doesn't run your life anymore.
True. Well said, doctor. Actually, and doctor, can you just talk about your Demartini method, because you're founder of Demartini method, and also about your signature program, Breakthrough Experience. Can you just brief here to the audience so that they can enroll for your program?
Well, the Breakthrough Experience is a program where I teach the Demartini method. I've been doing that 1,170 times around the world, and I love it. I had the dream to develop the method for it back when I was 18, and I've been working on it over 50 years now because I'm going on 69. And I'm a firm believer that if you want to ask quality questions to have a quality life, I've laid them out. The Demartini method is a series of very precise questions to help you become conscious of what you've been unconscious of, so you can see the hidden order in the apparent chaos, so you can dissolve the emotional baggage that's holding you back, where you've been a victim of history, and allow you to move forward and see life on the way, not in the way, and move forward, recognizing the order in life and being grateful for life. So it's a science and a methodology, and it's all within the Breakthrough Experience. The Breakthrough Experience is 26 hours of deep exploration on the mastery of life and helping you do something extraordinary with your life, helping you break through whatever you think is in the way, relationship, money, whatever the issue is. I don't know what it is when people come there. I just know I'm going to show them how they can solve it. It's a very inspiring. I mean, I've been doing it, like I say, 1,170 times, and I do it every week almost. So I can't wait to get up and do that one.
I loved your breakthrough program because even I was part of that last time, and it was amazing kind of program, because I'm a scientist as well, and I'm a wellness coach and a life coach. So I would, implement these kind of whatever techniques you have taught and the concepts that you have taught, taking health, wealth, life, relations, and everything. At the same time, Dr. Demartini, to enroll for your program, because as you have helped many people transform their lives, can you just tell me here about Hollywood actors, how they have been helped through your, even you have helped Stephen Hawking. Can you just describe here in a few words how you have helped them, Beyonce and all that? And it's going to be
Well,
a kind of brush of information. Yeah.
you know, uh, many people have an illusion that a celebrity is something other than a human being. But they're celebrating
Well said, well said. Love you for that, love you for that. Mm.
don't put. I always say that whatever you see in other people that you admire, go and look inside yourself, because you couldn't admire it if you didn't have it within you. The seer, the seeing,
Mm,
and sometimes we're too humble to admit it, but the truth is we have whatever we see in them. Once you realize that they're just human beings and they have their strengths and weaknesses and their core competences and areas where they've got their blind sides, and realize that they're working through the same stuff you are. They've got their own relationship issues. They've got their own
mm,
business issues. I mean, Nicolas Cage had financial issues, right? He's learning his lesson now, and I mean, I
mm,
think Johnny Depp had his relationship issues. He learned about who he's engaging and how to communicate, and they both labeled themselves narcissistically. There's a new movie that we're in the process of making around that one. But each individual has something, either their relationship's a challenge, or their business is a challenge, or their wealth is a challenge, or their health is a challenge. I mean, Bruce Willis has got a health issue, a mental health issue now, and he's got
mm,
challenges. But everybody's got something, and they're no different than any other human being. And so I don't see them as celebrities. I just see them as whoever they are, and I ask them the same questions and hold them accountable to face the truth about their life. And the ones that are wise enough and willing to be them authentic self, they break through. The ones that want to hold on to their image and worry about what people think or whatever, they may take a little extra work, and I got to spank them a bit and get them back into their authentic self before they're ready to face it. But they're no different. They're just like any other human being. And they have times when they're in their amygdala and times when they're more executive function. But they have their strengths and weaknesses. I think that's the key. Not to see them any
wow.
different.
I believe in this. I believe in this, doctor, because even I was into acting industry. I never went to the actor and I never took their autograph, because even when the actor used to say, why do not you need my autograph? I used to say, I can be the same like you, because I do not see them something more than a human, because we term them, because we have something kind of insecurity in us. We feel very low about ourselves and we think something high about others, so we are putting ourselves down, minimizing ourselves. As you believe in that, this is what resonated me when I joined your breakthrough program. I felt that doctor and I have the same kind of thinking, because even I do not like to praise someone all the time, because the world is doing it, because they have something special in them. They may have that special and I can also become that special, because I am not working on myself. That's the only difference even I felt.
You
So
have it. Nothing's missing. I was in Nepal. I was
yes, yes.
the Bompa Lama. He's the equivalent of the
Mhm,
Bompa Lama once ruled Tibet, but the Dalai Lama
mhm,
took over many centuries ago. I met with the
mhm,
Bompa Lama in Nepal. I went to his temple and I chatted with him. We had an hour conversation. It was lovely. And we had a conversation about the illusion of missingness. And people go, well,
mhm.
I miss this, I miss this, I don't have this, I don't have that. Nothing's missing. It's in a form you have not looked deep enough to acknowledge. When you finally realize that nothing's missing, it's eye-opening. That's one of the lessons in breakthrough, because people think it. I have this lady who is in Florida, and she says, my
Mhm.
mom abandoned me. I
Yeah.
said, okay, fantastic.
Mm, mm.
And she'd been running this story for 39 years about how mom abandoned her, and that's why she's got all screwed up life, and that's why she's this and that and everything else. I said, stop it. Stop the
Mm,
story. It's a BS
mm,
story. Any story other than thank you, I love you is a BS story. And I
mm.
said, go and identify what you perceived you missed out on with your mom. So go to the moment when your mom left And at that moment, what specific trait, action did you perceive that you missed? I missed this. Write it down. I missed this. Write it down. We went all through them, list them all. Great. At the moment your mom departed, who took on that behavior? Nobody. Look again. You've chosen to run the story for 39 years, but you've never been asked who took it on. And she looks and she goes, finally, she goes, my aunt and my grandmother and one of my best friend's moms and a teacher. I said, great. Now, is the quantity of those people equal to what your mom would have given? Yes. Now, what was the drawback if your mom had done it? And she said, well, there would be no drawback. Well, that's a fantasy. Anything that has a positive without a negative is a fantasy. Anything that has a negative without a positive is a nightmare. What would have been the drawback if she'd been there? And she's like, I can't think of it. I said, you said that in less than 1 second, which means you didn't even try to look. So try again. Then she paused, and then she got a tear in her eye, and she said, whoa. She got chills and got a tear. And she said, all of a sudden, I remember something my aunt said to me. I said, what is it? My aunt said, the reason why your mother gave you up is because she had bipolar condition and put you in a bath and you almost drowned. And she said, the hardest day your mother ever had was the day she came to me. And she said, I don't feel that I can raise my child without endangering my child's life. Please help me. And I don't want him to have to deal with me with my condition the way it is. So she gave her child up, not as an abandonment, but as an act of love, because she wanted more for her child than what she could comprehend for herself, doing it herself. So her aunt said that to her, but she wasn't willing to hear that. But in that moment, because I asked her, what would have been the drawback if her mom had been there? All of it came up. And then I said, what was the benefit of the aunt taking care of him, the grandmother taking? She says, I got an incredible education. I never would have had it with my mom. She ended up in poverty, and she ended up not having a job, and she ended up living in the streets. I said, well, oh, she broke down in tears. And she said, my mom loved me. She wanted the best for me. And her life changed that day. The story that she'd been running was based on incomplete information. And now she saw a new story because she realized nothing was missing. It was in a form she never honored. And we sometimes are attached to the forms. As the Buddha says, don't attach to the forms. You get attached to the forms and you can't appreciate the magnificence of your life because you keep comparing it to a fantasy about how it's supposed to have been. I'm not interested in how it's supposed to be. I'm not interested in anything other than the way it is, because anytime you compare your life to the way that you used to be or the way you fantasize it being, you're not the way it is, you've got a dissociation, and you will never appreciate your existence. So I say missing at the level of the essence of the soul, nothing's missing. At the level of the existence of the senses, things appear to be missing. The things that appear to be missing are the things you're too proud or too humble to admit you have that you see in others. And it's basically dissociation. That's why in the breakthrough experience, I dissolve all that. I show them how to dissolve that by holding themselves accountable to questions. The breakthrough experience isn't for people that just want to go rah-rah and stand on chairs and, blame people and look for something outside themselves. It's for people who want to be accountable, that want to grow and want to master their lives and want to do something and make a difference in the world. It's for those people. It's not an easy course. It's a course for people who want to grow and make mastery of their lives. But I assure you,
Transform their lives.
the questions that are there are very confronting and very integral. I mean, I've been working 50 years on the project, and I'm certain if they can handle those questions, they can do something more extraordinary in their life. But otherwise, they're going to just be blaming and running stories and labeling narcissists and saying I was abandoned and I was a wounded child and all that other stuff that's been it's just victim thinking. You're not going to master your life promoting victim, but that's common in the psychology industry, very common out there.
And Dr. Love, as with the ending before ending the session, I would like to ask you, how do you want everybody to live? To live with love, not living with that delusion, not living with that fantasy, purely with love. Because love is the basic thing that makes everything in life. As per me and as per you. What do you say on this?
I don't have an expectation. I don't have the fantasy expectation everybody's supposed to just be in grace all the time. That's not going to happen.
Mm.
I,
Mm.
I've been working on mastery of my life, and I don't have 24 hours a day, with
Mm.
tears of gratitude. That's not real, because no matter how
Mm.
much you know, and there's always the unknown beyond what you know.
Mm.
There's always a mystery beyond your history. And in that mystery is the unknown, and that unknown is the perceptions that you're going to now learn some more. So it's not that you're going to
Mm.
be there and done and I'm enlightened and it's all over. No,
Mm.
that's
Mm.
a fantasy
Mm.
they're going to do, and
Fantasy.
gurus like
Mm.
they're selling opium. But the reality is you're going to have moments of grace. You're going to have a deep understanding of the universe for a moment. Then you're going to go off in your next illusion. And then you're going to have the tools. You can learn the tools on how to turn that back into grace. And if you
Mm.
turn your next illusion into seeing the order of it, we make progress. To sit there and run this story for your whole life about how you've been a victim of whatever and not see the order is stagnation. But to think that you're going to get to bliss and stay in bliss all day long is also delusion. I want people to have a grounded understanding about how life works and know that you're going to continue to grow. Albert Einstein said it really well when he said, live with holy curiosity, live with the pursuit of learning and growing on a daily basis, and knowing that when you do have a reaction and you're in your amygdala, that's fine. You're still worthy of love. Now use that as a feedback to give yourself the right questions to transcend that, transcend the illusion, go on to the next illusion. I live from one illusion to the next. I don't live in a fantasy that
Mm.
it's all over and I'm never going to have another illusion and I'm all enlightened. And that's an addiction to
Mm.
pride. I'm a human being.
Mm.
I'm worthy of love, and so is everybody else. No matter what you've done or not done, you're worthy of love. And so is the next person. And your job is to figure out how to transcend your initial judgment and go on it, and there'll be more. And they'll then transcend that one and take on the accountabilities of growing. Maximum growth and development occurs at the border of support and challenge, and these pairs of opposites. As Wilhelm once said, when you can handle the pair of opposites synchronously, simultaneously, and embrace both of them equally, you have a moment of mastery. When you're sequentially avoiding one and seeking the other all the time, you're in a moment of misery. You have the capacity to live in utility or futility, of service or and deservice,
Disservice.
or sitting there and sit there and wallowing in your pity of living in a fantasy and blaming some outside source and hoping something on the outside's going to rescue you. I'm not interested in rescuing somebody. I'm helping people. I'm not here to take care of it and now solve your problem. And then you become addicted to me. And I don't want an umbilical cord plugging into me and sapping blood out of me. I want them to be an accountable individual that's willing to
Mm.
master their lives and show tools on how to do that and train them on how to do that so they can go and take off and do something more with their life. That's all I'm interested in.
Amazing. Doctor, amazing. Thank you so much for this. And I would like to tell all my audiences here, if you have any queries or questions, you can just put it in the chat box. At the same time, because Dr. Demartini, he is one of the renowned human behavior expert, and he is the founder of Demartini method, and his breakthrough experience program is amazing, mind-blowing program that has transformed so many lives, millions of lives. So I request you all to join his program and see the transformation that's going to happen. It's a 2-day program, and that's an amazing program that is going to gift you all your life, and you will be thanking Almighty and thanking Dr. Demartini for this. At the same time, Doctor, I would love to meet you personally. I would love to come. And one more thing, Doctor lives in a ship.
Where
His
are you?
ship is
Where are
his
you?
house.
Where,
I,
where are
I, I
you right
stay
now?
in India. I stay in
Oh,
India.
I was just in India just a month ago. I passed through all the
Oh,
way down. Over
oh,
there
I
to
would have met you, Doctor. I would have met you. I would have hugged you. I would have.
yes, I love that. I'm in Israel. I was just in Saudi Arabia, and
Okay.
before that I was in
Mm.
the S.H.A.L.A island, the
Mm.
Maldives, and I was in Sri Lanka, India. So now I'm
Mm.
getting ready to go to Egypt tonight. So we're moving
Okay,
around.
that's amazing. You'll be moving around. That's an amazing life, Doctor. And even I would love to move around the world. But definitely, I want to meet you personally. I want to meet you in your ship. I want to see that. I want to enjoy that. I want to feel it. Hope everybody
Fantastic.
wants to have that. Thank you so much, Doctor. Thanks a lot for giving your time, for making aware about the facts about love and relationships. And everybody would have got lots and lots of takeaways through this session. And definitely, we are not going to miss out on the breakthrough Breakthrough program. That is a signature program by Dr. Demartini. At the same time, he has a song that is Butterfly Song that is featured by Dr. Demartini, which says about, how to improve on your mission, how to go about with your mission, even though regardless of those challenges, when they are holding you back, but you are not getting held up because of those challenges, but you still move on with your mission. So this is what that song is supposed to be. You can hear that on Spotify. Thank you so much, Doctor. Love you loads. This is Hina, and I'm an S.H.A.L.A scientist, as I said, from Indian Institute of Science. I'm a certified wellness coach and life coach, and you can join me Saturday on my live audience show. That's going to be a gift for all the audiences, and we all are going to have that breakthrough program by Demartini. Love you, Doctor. Anything you would love to say here, Doctor?
Well, the magnificence of who you are is far greater than any fantasies you impose on yourself. Give yourself permission to be you. Otherwise, second at being somebody else, not first at being you. Give yourself permission to being you. And again, no matter what you've done or not done, you're worthy of love. Say that to yourself every day and remind yourself of the truth of that.
Thank you so much. Love you loads, Doctor. Loads of kisses from Hina to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to be with you.
Thank you. Thank you, Doctor. Bye, Doctor. Bye. Wonderful session. Thanks a lot. Bye.